I was leading the league in Italy in scoring. That was the year I started to actually contemplate about quitting. Like,
Whoa.
I could be fighting and working hard and doing everything I can do from a player standpoint to try and reach my goals to be the best. If I don't know anything about my business, basically I'm being taken advantage of.
Oh, she played for this team in Spain. She got paid this much. Oh, you're only getting this much? Oh no, we need WeVolv.
That's the next level, I think, of making athletes be more accountable. We have to play our part in making this thing work. And then the organizations open up in that door and saying, okay, let's give the athletes a seat at the table.
What do you think it's gonna take for WeVolv to hit mass scale?
We're just 1 degree of separation. We're right there.
Let's go, baby. This is another episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast. I'm your host, Noah Locke, and I bring on your favorite athletes to chat about entrepreneurship in the business they're building. Today, we got a great one. We have a professional basketball player in Spain. She's a guard for Baxi for All in San Sebastian, living the life. But she's not just living, she's also hustling and grinding. She's the co-founder of WeVolv. We're talking about Jori Davis, building WeVolv into, essentially, a members-only ecosystem, enabling global athletes to independently manage their careers and your unique lifestyle. So really empowering athletes to navigate the ever-changing, interesting world of professional contracts and making sure they earn every dollar. But Jori, first of all, thank you so much for joining us over there in Spain. I know it's getting late over there.
No, thank you. The sunset is hitting me, so hopefully it doesn't mess up the visuals for the podcast. But
No, you're great.
Doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you look fantastic. But Jori, let's skip the small talk. You're over there in Spain. I hope you learned a thing or two. How do you say "let me see the contract" in Spanish?
I have no idea. I'm a Google Translate that on the app. What I use and put it in. That's what I would say. Have no idea how to say that in Spanish. That's a good one. That's a good one, Noah. You caught me off guard. You say you were going to hit me with an off guard question. That was one. But, good old friend Google Translate app, that's my go-to when it comes down to important conversations with anyone around that matter.
So, déjame ver el contrato. Déjame ver el contrato. I think that may be one, your teammates or the new imports may need to use down the road. Hopefully they don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you never know what could happen out here.
Yeah. We're working on that translation in the app as well for WeVolv. So everything will be taken care of when it pertains to those language barriers globally.
Jory, you said that, previously you see influencers and people on the internet when they go travel, they post this life that they're living. They're in Spain, they're in Mykonos, right? They're in Italy and doing all the stuff, going to this restaurant, going to the beach. But you're really out here doing it. Like, actually, can you chat about life there in San Sebastian? I mean, obviously business comes first. You're doing what you love. It is a profession, but like you are actually doing what people see from influencers.
Yeah. So I'm in Ferrol, is right up down south of San Sebastian. So it's all kind of a part of, there's Basque Country. They're all close. They're along the coast. But yeah, I mean, I think influencers, they go to the best hotels, they go to some of the best restaurants, the best beaches, and they only capture that moment. Whereas when we come and we play abroad, we're actually living with the locals. We're actually using the washing machines and using dry racks. We don't have, dryers. We're living like a real Spaniard, like a local. And so it's where we find the beauty of this lifestyle, because we're enriched with a culture that isn't what you see on social media. Even though we also can, after practice, my natural ice bath might be the ocean. And when it's winter time, I can go put my legs in some of the places that when all the influencers aren't trying to come, I'm there. I can go have a coffee in the morning and look over at the beach that they post the one time they came. And so that's the difference. I drive past some of these statues that are historical on the way to practice. And I think that's the difference between how we live and the influencer experience.
Yeah, no doubt. And and you guys are already, one thing, Jory, about overseas hoops is, man, the season is long. I mean, man, like it feels maybe the NBA plays more games, but I feel like the overseas seasons last longer. They're more months. I mean, you're already into the season. How's it been going so far? And have you needed to take some ice baths? How's your body feeling?
Hey, look, I don't want to share my age as I get up there, but when you're doing it a long time, you for sure need to stretch more ice baths. But yes, the seasons get long, and those two-a-days start to hurt your body a little bit more. And so, the 8 months for women, men, sometimes they're there 10, 11 months. So they really
That's
are almost
crazy.
all year round for the guys. So they're long, but it's a part of kind of adjusting, and you definitely get used to it. And it requires you to really find your own community, find your own people while you're over here, and use your time wisely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How's the jumper lately?
It's cool. It's
Yeah,
cool. I mean, more
still an
so
automatic.
not jumping so much these days, being as efficient as possible. Got to get open more because we're not just pulling up into people's face like back in the day.
Okay.
I'm aging myself here, but it's been a long journey. 14 seasons, man.
Wow.
Can't complain. Can't complain too much, but still hitting that mid range and still doing what I can do.
Man, man, salute to you. 14 seasons playing basketball. And you've seen it all. And I think one thing, I wanted to cover with you today is the reality of overseas basketball that a lot of people don't understand. And I think for established overseas basketball players like yourself, I think it gets a little easier.
Hmm.
You've seen a lot. You've earned your stripes. You've had a great career. I think for men and women, like if you don't make the NBA, the WNBA, and you play overseas, sometimes it's a roll of a dice whether how it's going to go, right? Like, can you kind of touch on that and this misconception of like, oh, professional basketball, you think you're just going to make bread from the jump? Not the case.
Yeah, no, it's not the case. It's a huge misconception of overseas basketball, and not that you'll make a lot of money, um, but it's also not that it's easy, because you have some players hooping in LA Fitness like, oh, I can go overseas, and you're like, look, first of all, it's not like there's some random rec league that you can go overseas and get paid to play. You have some of the best players, players that have been drafted to both leagues that are abroad. But the salary doesn't match, the talent level, truthfully. And so it's not public knowledge. So again, when you're trying to jockey for position to see what your market value is, it's tough. You kind of have to take what they say, because there's no way to kind of like fight back at the price, unless you just led the league in scoring, or you did something crazy where now you have that leverage to go and kind of negotiate. So yeah, I think the misconception is that you're getting paid a lot of money. Some players do. You see now the EuroLeague guys starting to talk more about their money and what they're making, but again, they are an anomaly.
Yeah.
um Diana Taurasi had that big I think they put it in some news article when she got paid by one of the Russian teams 1 million. And that they went ham on, she got 1 million, they're getting paid more, and it was like, all right, again, anomaly.
Yeah.
She had a special situation there. So there's misconceptions, but of course there's other ways to use this experience that allows you to really have a wealthy lifestyle.
No, absolutely. I love what you said there. The talent level doesn't match the salary. Think about that. Like, it's one of the few professions where, like, the talent level sometimes doesn't match the salary. And there's two leagues in particular. When I think of the WNBA and the G League, we talk about two leagues that the talent level does not match the salary. And I'm sure you feel the same about overseas hoops. Obviously, we know the business of it. We get it, right? TV deal, tickets being sold, right? There's stuff that goes into it. But that resonates with me. That the talent level not matching, and so that to me that's a reflection of not the players but the business of the game. And it's tough. It's an interesting dichotomy in sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have a responsibility. We talk about the W, and everyone's like they're asking for more money. and wanting to get paid more. I think it's one, the responsibility of players to understand the business more, and then the responsibility of the organizations and leaders to help educate us and make us a part of the business more. And what do I mean by that? I think with branding and everything growing, I think telling the stories and being more involved is no longer just, Jordan with the Coca-Cola can. Now it's like, let's tell more stories. Let's let the fans in more to make them want to be a part of this journey we're on to win that championship. We now it's where you need the fans to feel like they're a part of the journey. And I think overseas is a unique opportunity because I go to the cafe before the game and have a coffee. How do we make everyone in the cafe know there's Jory, she's about to go to her game, and make them feel like, hey, Jory, the game's today? How do we make these local communities feel like they're a part of my journey in reaching success? That's the next level, I think, of making athletes be more accountable that, hey, we have to play our part in making this thing work. And then the organizations open up in that door and saying, okay, let's give the athletes a seat at the table, educate them so we can make that value go higher when it pertains to the market value of the sport industry.
No, absolutely. I love that. I love the accountability mindset. For you, right, you started WeVolv to sort of solve a problem that a lot of athletes face when they, think about contract negotiations, what they're worth, etc. But before you dive into WeVolv, Jory, is there like a story you can tell or something that happened in the past? Maybe you don't have to name names, but can go in depth on something that you're like, man, I don't want to see that again. Let's build a solution for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think I always start with my original story. There's a few I could tell, but I think for me, around the agent story, I had an agent that was given to me by my coach, name on the paper. Didn't really have anywhere else to go to research what other options I needed. But then over time, I ended up firing that agent, and her partner agent stopped putting my name in the market. And I originally found this out where I learned American agents had partner agents, and then the agent originally that my coach put on a piece of paper was her agent for NCAA. And when I fired my agent, I fired him at her at a bad time. But then a team from that market called me, and another one called me. It was Facebook message, first of all. And they were like, where are you playing? Like, your agents told me you weren't available. You were too expensive. And I was like, what?
I'm here.
Right. But that's that
hiring
one story.
On LinkedIn.
Yeah. Like LinkedIn, I don't think we had LinkedIn back then. That wasn't there. But if you also look, many agents and many team presidents don't have LinkedIn's.
Yeah, they don't.
But anyway, that's when I learned that there was like no direct channels in this space, and also that there was nowhere for me to really understand the dynamics of how I navigate this business and the conflicts of interest in the business. And so that was one thing. And I think regarding salary, my story that I give all the time is that I was leading the league in Italy in scoring. And that was the year I started to actually contemplate about quitting. I was like, I'm gonna retire. Like, I don't really know my value. I had already beforehand led a league in scoring 2 years in a row. And here I am doing it again. And I just didn't see my salary reflecting that. And so that's when I started WeVolv, started to ask players, be more proactive, trying to get information. That's why I was like, man, I actually have one of the worst contracts in the league, and I'm here, but my contract is here. And that's really when I realized that I could be fighting and working hard and doing everything I can do from a player standpoint to try and reach my goals to be the best. But yet, if I don't know anything about my business, basically I'm being taken advantage of and wasting years. And you don't have that much time, as we know. And so for me, that's when it hit home that this was not okay. And that the lack of transparency, the lack of professional business practices in this space was not okay. And we needed to really figure out a solution.
You were leading Italy in scoring, and at the same time you thought about retiring.
Yep. I was ready to go. No, I was like, all right, let's talking to, philanthropists, like athlete transition people. Like, all right, what do I need to do? I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna start my
That
life.
that that flight to JFK was booked.
Ready to be out of there. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no future for me. Um, and yeah, that was actually the year I started WeVolv.
So you built, this is the tip. This is the something that I say is like you built this to kind of solve your own problem. And you
Yeah.
say, hey, I have this problem. I'm the leading scorer in Italy. I think there's other people that might have this problem as well. Um, you know, talk about you dive more into WeVolv and give us sort of the vision for it, and we'll go from there and kind of tee off the next phase of what you're building because I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a wanting less fragmentation and more transparency, and so the overall mission was to democratize access to actionable information and data,
Yeah.
to help contract seeking athletes make more informed decisions and utilize that data in the network to help the athlete optimize their professional networks throughout their journeys. And what that really means is that, okay, how can we get data and information from all different stakeholders
Mm.
and democratize it where the player can visualize that data to make a more informed decision. But then how can we also build this unique network where now we can utilize AI mixed with the human intelligence to make sure if I'm in San Sebastian and Noah is in San Sebastian and there's a connection of the sport industry where I'm doing the podcast, he's doing it, we're in sport, tech, etc., our app would optimize helping me with my busy schedule to say, hey, this is someone you should connect with. And so it's something I also struggled with because I was in countries with former IU alum that I went to school with in football, basketball, and one was baseball. And we didn't find out we were in the same countries until like after the fact. And that
Wow.
happens to athletes all the time. And so I was
Yeah.
like, this can't happen because there's beauty in this connection. Not to say they might start a business together or whatever, but there's beauty in us optimizing our network to continue to build these relationships organically throughout our journey. And that's where I felt now with technology that can be automated and we can be that companion for that player to help them not miss out on those opportunities, especially when they have the advantage when, possibly I'm in Milan and I don't know, maybe someone from IU that's super important. This is my advantage to be able to meet with them when they're away from the noise in America. Just a simple thought
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the thought.
Well, I was like, I was saying off camera, right? Like I got my best friend living, near San Sebastian, right where you are.
Right.
And I was like, I felt like at some point you guys need to cross paths. And no, it's that's really awesome. So kind of setting the landscape here, like you have the community piece of it where you have all these athletes who, should connect with each other or, are in the same ecosystem at least, right? And then you have, the AI tool you're building to aggregate different data points to essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, create fair market valuations for what players are worth overseas, right? So we need information from the clubs. We obviously we need to know the stats of a player. We should know what players have made previously in the same league based on what, right? Like, is there a data point here that I'm missing that's important that you guys are aggregating that hasn't really been thought about before?
Yeah, I think all of those everyone's thought about benchmarking, etc. And of course, when you pair benchmarking with performance data, that gets you closer to really now helping the athlete. But one key thing is like actually aggregating and anonymizing the contract data. So pairing that data of what a player has negotiated, what they've actually signed, matching that with the team, the country, the league. And then as we get more of that data now, being able to very specifically based on position, playing style, and also like your who you are, like your personality, if this is
Hmm.
one a good fit for you. But then what are some things you can negotiate based on your career trajectory? One of the key things we always find is that players simply don't know what they can negotiate. You have players saying, oh, I could ask for that. Yes, you can. Now obviously that's your agent job, but as we know sometimes it's very transactional. So helping the player also negotiate based on previous athlete aggregated data is something we think is powerful. So I say instead of a seminar or a workshop and a former player comes and talks about their journey, now let's take that same concept but put it into data. And now when I actually need that information, it helps me make an informed decision and helps me negotiate a better contract based on the standards, based on what historically has been done. And I know where I stand. If 30% of players have signed something like this or 80% of players get this, I know the market value for myself, but also I know the standard of what I should be negotiating and getting in that contract. And that's a little bit of a unique data point in itself that we really want to lock in on.
Yeah, absolutely. You ever seen that? Like, you ever see the scenario of like, she played for this team in Spain, EuroLeague. She got paid this much. Oh, you're only getting this much? Oh no, we need WeVolv. We need WeVolv to you set the standard straight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, players talk about it all the time. Or even if it's just like, what someone's possibly getting paid. Of course, is hearsay. And you've played, let's say, 5 games against them that season, and you feel you've outperformed them. Maybe you can track that you guys had a head to head all those 5 games. You guarded her, she guarded me, and yeah, it's a little
I was
different
giving her buckets, like, but
yeah. I mean, and scoring is one thing, of course,
yeah,
but no one's paying attention to those little dynamics, of course, or tracking my success rate with post players in the pick and roll, for example, and how that can all be packaged up to really sell my value to the next team and my worth. And that's what's lacking is really just the basic stats. Oh, she averaged 20 and got 10 rebounds. She's the best. I mean, that's not really how it should be going. And then, okay, who's to say? Also, the big dilemma is, does the post player, just because they're taller than me, get the most money? Like, when did height become the requirement to get more money? I would think production should be the requirement. If I produce more and lead the team to more wins, and my production to the team is more valuable to lead to wins, then I should get paid more.
I sure
And
hope
that could
so.
be
I would
that could
hate
be
to
a
be.
war.
I would hope so. I would hate to be. I would hate to lose out on money just because I'm one of the shorter guys. I
Yeah,
can't grow
but
anymore. I tried.
hey, it happens all the time. But I get it also, because if there's a lack of, supply and demand, there aren't that many posts. So, you got to pay them. I get that. But in some scenarios, there's an internal little debate, guards versus posts, who really does the most work. And we can have a whole podcast session on that.
Yeah, I'll leave that to Swish cultures.
Yeah.
When I see you on there, I want to hear your thoughts. But no, it's any employee, like the dirty secret. I don't think we talk about in the workplace is like employees, regardless of any industry, tech, real estate. Everyone's trying to. So what are you making? Oh yeah, like everyone's comparing
Mm-hmm.
and trying to see what who's making what. And I think it's always a thing of like not disclosing your salary, but off the record, everyone is kind of chatting about what they're making. Jory, where do you see WeVolv fitting in the ecosystem of agents? Is this to help augment agents to make them more informed? Is this sort of allowing athletes to get rid of sort of the agency piece? How do you see this, developing with your relationship with the sports agent industry?
Yeah. Hey, to all the agents, Jori Davis does not hate you guys. I know it's they see me on IG a lot, but it's only a call to help us all elevate. But no, I think WeVolv will be a great companion. I think we also democratize the ability to be an agent due to the fact of the different rules and regulations globally that is hard to track as an agent if you want to be a global agency. And so what I actually think we're also a great companion for them to stay up to date rules and regulations, stay up to date to the standards that'll be in one centralized place. I think it also can be used for them to build trust. The more transparent they're showing their clients are by, hey, we are on WeVolv. You get to see everything that's in that deal. This is a third party that helps us to make sure you're informed. I think that builds trust with their clients, and they can use that as a marketing tool for themselves to say we are one of the ethical, forward-thinking agents that believe in transparency. And then thirdly, I also think for them, of course, an agent needs to know the market value of their players, and if this is not public knowledge, and they also have to just take the salaries they have from their 50 or 100 players. That still doesn't cover the whole market. And so for them, it also helps. So I really do think it is a great companion for agents. And also, we have some features to help them also digitize their processes better and create a more efficient communication channel and engagement channel with their clients.
I mean, let's really dive into this though, Jory. Like Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins, Laramie Tunsil. I just gave you three really large NFL players
Mm-hmm.
that have been representing themselves and got paid. Is this a glimpse, in your opinion, into the future? And 10 years from now, 5 years from now, will more athletes be representing themselves with WeVolv in their pocket?
My assumption is that there will be 10% of athletes from each type sport that will want to do it like they've done it.
Okay.
I do believe that the future is bright for more self-representation. And that is when different platforms come together where the analytics, the performance data, and the market value come to be one. And then the teams are also in that ecosystem where the trading and the marketplace is fluid. And I do believe so. But at the same time, there will be a lot of turbulence to get there, because even though those names you just named have done it, they have also gotten backlash.
Yeah.
In the public eye, there's stories about them doing it, but also it's not easy for them,
Yeah.
because if they don't stay on top of their game, they could easily be blackballed out because of doing something that can inspire others to follow. And so I do believe the industry's changing. I don't think it'll be where they don't have agents. I just think their management teams will change. So who they
Okay.
have on their management team might not be a traditional agent as we've known for so long, the Jerry Maguire. It might now be where these agents or managers have to become more well-rounded and have to do more for that player. And that's what I see the future holding. Right now, I just think about 10% of athletes from each sport have the mindset to want to do what those individuals have been able to do. And that's still a huge market, by the way, even if
Yeah.
10% of athletes decide to go that route.
Huge. No, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we talk about the market stuff. This is one that's interesting for me, Jory, is like when you're trying to get information from teams to help, with the platform, is it like knocking on a house where no one's home or they act like they're not home? I mean, how do you see trying to get, how do you envision, yourself aggregating data from teams that, maybe aren't incentivized,
Mhm.
at the moment to give you that data you're looking for?
Yeah. I think it's just they're trying to understand what's in it for them. And
Right.
as much as, and I think that's every other stakeholder outside the athlete, as much as everyone is athlete empowerment, athlete entrepreneurship, it sounds great to put it on your marketing materials, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And so when knocking on the doors of teams, leagues, federations, or even unions, it's really now what's in it for them to help athletes. Like what do I get to empower an athlete? And that's the hard part, because it's shifting. My mission is shifting what's dear to my heart. This was my struggle, and I have to, it's more so on me to refine the value proposition and get out of my own way and let what I know to be true is happening to athletes kind of push that aside to focus on the team and what they need, the federation and what they need in order to reach the goal for my community. And but it's not easy, because there's a lot of work to be done. And there are companies that are working, there are companies to help those entities digitize more of their processes. And that's again where I say I think the more we consolidate the right pieces to really build out that whole athlete life cycle, that's ultimately when those collaborators are going to be the winners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's that's interesting, and I want to stay updated on how that develops, because I want to, I'm curious if these teams will sort of give up some of that data. Kind of zooming out, Jory, Your journey as a founder, you've been at this for a couple years, things have probably changed. The industry's probably moved, changed before your eyes. Can you chat about the past couple years, how the business changed and you as a founder, you know, in a case of a pivot or an adjustment, like, is that process tough for you? Because sometimes it's tough for me.
I think it's always tough. Change is hard. When you have your eyes set on something, you got to pivot and shift some things. It's hard. But I will say, that is the case of what they say about athletes as founders. You just kind of have learned to kind of bounce back and keep going. And I think it's just like step by step. Oh, we got hit. Hold on, let me get back, wipe it off, and let's figure it out. Find a solution. The industry has changed, of course, and I think one pivot we had to make, not a pivot per se, but we had to really lock in on that core feature, that core offering of WeVolv, and we did with the contracts, and it was like, oh, NIL. And that industry shift helped everyone else look at contracts differently. Like, oh, all these kids in these contracts, even though in South America, in Africa, in other continents, players are, especially in football, have been signing contracts since 14. They're
Yeah.
signing to academies, they're signing to agents. This has been they have been doing this for decades. But for some reason, NIL helped everyone to realize that, oh, you can sign a contract at a young age. Now, who's professional? I think that term is something that will be changed. It's no longer, oh, you're a pro. Now you are an employee. You are a business. You're a walking business at the age of 14. And that has been a perfect match for the pivot of really refocusing on contracts and that type of data for athletes' benefit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, have you, I assume that you come from a non-technical background. Is that correct?
Definitely.
So that makes two of us. And like building software is really tough. And you know, when bringing someone recruiting developers, engineers for your company. I mean, as a non-technical founder, kind of talk about that process. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll piggyback on that a little bit by saying there's been a couple different software products I've seen to in NIL to try to bridge the gap between athletes and their payday. Um, but you gotta make the tech easy, seamless. It's gotta be easy, Jory. It's gotta
Yeah.
the UI, the UX, the user experience. How did you recruit some of your developers?
Man, that was tough. I mean, we've gone through a journey with the tech developers and team from day one. We actually had a former player who was going to be our third co-founder, and things didn't work out, and that was our first real bump in the road because we thought we had it all planned out, and she decided to go her own ways and felt differently about things, and so we had to start from scratch from that moment. And then it's really just been bringing me back to the days of trying to find like an agent. It was like a lot of these middlemen in the tech space, like, oh, I have this dev team, I'm the lead, and I was like, ooh, this is giving me middleman agent vibes again, and I'm still working through some things. So for me, it was the same as everything else. Like, you have to network, and it was just so hard because that's not something that's common. You don't find those people in the sports space. They're coming now. A lot of
Yeah,
sport tech is booming now, but it's not where you could just pick up the phone and find someone that could connect you to someone trustworthy. And so it was difficult really trying to find tech and then finding affordable tech as you're starting. You have to kind of go offshore. You have to go abroad. In most cases, many people get their teams to keep costs low, and that comes with communication barriers, and that comes with time zone issues. But we were able to figure it out and really get to this point. When it pertains to the design, it's been something we've always known because I've engaged with so many platforms that have been built for athletes, but I'm like, this is not for us. Like, no way. This looks like a corporate. This is something that corporations might use, or someone that's sitting at the desktop. And I think it was just due to those individuals building, not knowing how mobile we are, how one click generation we are as athletes, and also how we've been groomed to understand good design. We grew up with Nike, we grew up with Adidas, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want anything that doesn't look nice.
Fresh.
That's what we're
Yeah,
used
nice.
to. And so those were some key things that has always been difficult and still is difficult to find the right designers that can match the UX with nice seamless design. And so it's been a struggle. I won't lie. It's been hard, really making sure we can find developers, designers that we can trust, but also that can execute.
I got an interim solution for you. Do you know Steve Ballmer, owner of the Clippers?
Yes.
You know he's the CEO of Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
You ever seen that video back in the day where he's in front of 20,000 people, he's very sweaty, and he's chanting, developers, 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 developers. Just play that out your all hands to motivate
Yeah.
the need for developers.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that one. I'm gonna pull that one, see how it goes for me. Yeah. Developers, UX,
Yeah,
UX,
yeah.
UX.
Just repeat it. Just drill it, instill it in the company's culture.
Yeah.
But it's no, I think like you know you're doing everything you can on your end for as a founder, as a salesperson, as someone who may be fundraising. But like at the end of the day, like the tech's got to be smooth and seamless, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sure you've played a little bit of product manager, right? Never. I don't know if you would have ever imagined yourself directing traffic, directing software development. Imagine yourself in Indiana, like, yeah, in 10 years from now, I'm going to be directing software development.
Right. On Jira, learning Jira and trying to do Figma designs, prototyping, like no way. Didn't think about it.
It's it's crazy that you kind of have to be a good product manager on the fly. But no, uh, what do you think it's going to take for WeVolv to hit mass scale? Meaning, like
Mhm.
all of a sudden now, it's if you're not flipping the switch from hey, try out my app to like you're not on WeVolv. What are you doing?
Mhm. Yeah, I think we're 1 degree of separation to the right pilots and some of the right um access to the right advisors. I think we're just 1 degree of separation. We're right there.
Yeah,
Because again, the mission and what we stand for at this moment in the market, we have an opportunity because not many are doing what we're doing. And so I do think we're just 1 degree of separation because in the sport industry you see it all the time with some of these companies. Once one says yes, then everybody just follows. Um, and so I really do think we're right there. I think it's more so where we're at right now, refining what we're gonna go to market with, top of 2025, continuing to amp up our internal tech team, which we've been doing to reach our goals, and then that one pilot, truthfully I think that one big pilot is going to help us really go over the tipping point, and we're right there, and I think that's what's going to work for us in the right marketing strategy because we are B2B to C, but we have a strong opportunity to go B2C. We have a strong opportunity to onboard athletes directly,
right.
um, but I think those are some of the key things that could really get us over the tipping point and hit mass scale. And when we do that and we match that with the data, then it's over with. It's over with because I believe our design and our unique insight, of how we're gonna build this thing will give us an advantage. So that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, you're close. You're close. Do you have a welcome to entrepreneurship moment, like a story where you're like, damn, this is what I signed up for?
um My favorite story right now that we talk about was Volvo sent a cease and desist, whatever it's called, because we had WeVolv, and Volvo was like,
Wait,
"You need
Volvo sent a cease and desist letter
a
to you
cease
guys?
and desist letter to us," and I was like, "What? We didn't even have the app yet. Like it was so early. Like we were just starting, like podcasts, simple things."
Oh,
And my mom called me. I was overseas. She's like, "Oh, you just got this full pack thing from Volvo." I was like, "Volvo." We were like, not now. We can't afford to go fight this against Volvo of all companies. And so we were just on LinkedIn, just hacking away, writing everybody like, we are athletes. We're in a totally different market. Like, constantly just everybody on LinkedIn tied to Volvo. And eventually, we came to agreement. We got on the phone and we went back and forth with their lawyers, and we were good. We solid. We came to an agreement. But I was like, how can they possibly say we're in the same space? We are not. But they were going into the sports space. They were starting to sponsor, endorse certain players in sport. And so yeah, we had to. That was the big, like, scary moment. Like, man, this is why they tell you to have a budget for legal, right? Because just never know. And I'm like, and we already starting day one with Volvo out of all things. So like, our legal budget needs to be high, because who knows what's gonna come when we really start doing things, right? So that was I was like, I had no words. I was kind of sick for a few days, because I was like, what are we about to do? Like, this name, I want to keep this name. I don't know what else we're gonna go with. Volvo. But hopefully Volvo sees some partnership opportunity, because I think it could be a dope collab. But yeah, that was one aha founder moment. I was like, bro, what?
Oh my God, that is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard about. On literally like day one, even before your product, that large of an international company coming after you.
Yes, yes.
Oh my
So I
God.
was like,
That
is
must
this
have
a
been
new
terrifying.
terrifying? Like, we don't have, how are we gonna fight them if we try
You
to take this
can.
to court?
You
We
can't.
can't.
You cannot take them to court. You don't have like it's the Kevin Hart thing. My bank account says, you know what I mean? Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
terrifying. But we got it. We still WeVolv. And we still got in the black book. One day we're gonna come back and talk to Volvo and tell them the story, and we're gonna sit down and do some partnership or something together with athletes.
Man, Volvo, you gotta chill, man. Oh my God. Thanks for sharing that. That was wow. Like,
Yeah.
it gets real out here, everybody. It gets really real out here.
Hey, IP, man, that's when we first learned about IP, protecting your brand, your assets, everything, because it was like, oof. So then someone was like, now you need to do it. So anything else WeVolv that's close, you need to go do the same thing Volvo was doing to you, to protect the WeVolv brand. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that was the next step.
So something you brought up something that like I think people don't talk about is like when you're raising money for your startup and people ask, well, what's the money for? The first thing you like probably shouldn't say is like I use it for like we need like legal coverage, but like you need it for like a lot of that money like may go to like legal
Yeah.
coverage. It's like the thing you can't say, but it's like we know.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, right?
Yeah.
You have to, I mean, even just if you have trade secrets, if it, you got to even pay to just understand if it's worth it to actually do a patent on anything, like what can be protected, what can't, besides the basics. You can do the trademarks and stuff, but on a deeper level, what can be protected, and that's a whole learning lesson. And at the end of the day, you got to hire good lawyers and the people that can help you get there, and that requires some dollar bills.
Yeah,
That requires that
absolutely.
money.
Any good lawyer is gonna run it up for sure.
Hey, for sure. So
Any good lawyer. No, that's real game right there. Well, Jory, I hope we see you IPO WeVolv and a Volvo. In whatever Volvo's headquarters. Like I want this to come full circle. But we know we really appreciate you joining the show to chat about WeVolv. And before we get out of here, Jory, where can we find WeVolv? How can we tap in? What are the best links that people
mhm.
can check out in our show notes?
Yeah, definitely find us on IG. Well, our website is wevolv.net. Follow us. We're doing some big revamps soon, so you'll be able to check out that contract review tool live coming soon. You can find us on Instagram, WeVolv Society, and then of course TikTok, WeVolv on TikTok, and also check out our LinkedIn for any of the athletes that are on LinkedIn. Get on LinkedIn, athletes, please.
Yep.
Um,
Talk that talk
WeVolv
for sure.
on LinkedIn as well. And then, I'm always saying my piece on my Jory What Nows, and, sponsored by WeVolv. So you can check me out on Jory Davis 32.
Yeah.
Always just trying to keep talking to my community, keep educating. So that's where you can find us.
Man, no doubt, no doubt. Well, I really appreciate it, Jory. We really appreciate it. This has been another great episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast with professional basketball player Jori Davis, co-founder of WeVolv. Jory, thank you so much and welcome to the community.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Love what you guys are doing, for sure.
No doubt, no doubt.